technically it's a Blue Friday. Got a preseason game tomorrow. Generally, preseason games are frustrating because you get a taste of what football is like, but it's not the football that you're hoping for. This is a game where you get to watch a bunch of young players fight and scrap for the possibility of being a roster member, if not maybe a starter, or eventually down the road, I don't know, someday turning into some sort of incredible story where an afterthought player has some sort of Terrell Davis-esque preseason, and the next thing you know, he's a NFL Hall of Famer. But that's generally not something that happens. For the most part, you're just watching to see some of the backups, and maybe, just maybe, some starters be determined over the next couple of games. What are you going to be looking for on Saturday night? What are you most curious about? 710-710 is how you text in on the Mac and Jack's Brewing Company text line. You can also tweet me at Gallant Says. I'm going to lay out real quick everything I'm looking for. Number one, we're likely going to see some sort of vanilla version of whatever the Seahawks offense will be when the regular season starts a little less than a month from today. But I really want to see this fast, quick, more hungry, up-tempo offense. I want to see glimpses of it. I want to see the Seahawks actually try to put the Las Vegas Raiders on their heels more often than not in tomorrow night's game. And I think that's something that the Seahawks can do without tipping their hand too much. This is going to be, I guess, the first taste that we get of Shane Waldron. And again, I imagine it's going to be a lot like those samples that you might get at the grocery store. I don't know if they're going to be giving us seconds, but just show that tempo. Show off that speed that we were hoping for at times over the course of Russell Wilson's career to see more of, and that I think you need to see more of this coming season, just given the way that the season ended for the Seahawks last year. What else am I looking for? Well, I think that cornerback is the most intriguing position to spotlight in this game, and one of the unfortunate parts about watching a preseason game on television is that it's generally difficult to see the goings-ons for defensive backs snap to snap to a point where you're actually going to be able to make a judgment on if that guy was in the right coverage, if he was in the right zone. But with DJ Reed, probably one of the Seahawks' two starting cornerbacks, and hurt, who's going to line up on the opposite side of DJ Reed? I think you're going to find that out in this game. Is it going to be Trey Flowers, who I know a lot of you are probably rolling your eyes. We've heard this before. We know what happens in games. He gets called for penalties. He loses his confidence, but he's having a good training camp. Is it going to be Trey Flowers who can make the kind of plays in his first preseason game, again, with the 2021 Seahawks? Is he going to be able to make the kind of plays that put him ahead of Ahkello Witherspoon, who's in his first game period with the Seattle Seahawks? I'm wondering about that one. Flowers has looked good. And then there's another guy that also is, I think, going to try and fight his way into the conversation, and he's been looking pretty good recently. Yesterday, he had another good day. He's had a couple of practices this week where he's been making plays. That's Trey Brown, your rookie fourth-round pick. He saw time at left corner with the first-team defense yesterday. He made a play covering DK Metcalf, and we know Trey Brown's not very big either, sort of in that DJ Reed, Ugo Amadi size. Is he going to be able to do anything to rise the cornerback ranks? If he makes plays, honestly, maybe there is a chance that this is a guy that we could be seeing a whole lot of this coming season. So that's on the outside corner spot. As far as your nickel corner spot, that's probably the best positional battle that we'll have, because Marquise Blair and Ugo Amadi are going to make the team. But they're competing against one another, you would think at least, for the de facto nickel cornerback spot. Will a performance Saturday night, the rest of the preseason games, determine that either Blair or Amadi is the regular guy at nickel corner, or could it be some sort of a timeshare position this season? Also intriguing. I don't know how long we will see the first team offense in tonight's game, if we see it at all. But I do think that we will see rookie 6th-round pick Stone Forsythe. He has been working with the first-team unit on offense at practice. He is a 6'8" monster, and he really just jumps out at you with that size that he has. He's going to be going up against real pass rushers in an actual game situation. Full pads. How raw is he going to look? Will there be glimpses of him being a guy who can start to open the year on the off chance that Trey Brown isn't available week 1? He's played at a high level before. SEC football is about as good as it gets, especially when it comes to going up against really good pass rushers. Forsythe is a Florida Gator. How is he going to look, though, now that he's moving up to the big boy ranks? And he's going to be in there, I would imagine, early, meaning he's probably going to get as good of a challenge as he will get all preseason long with that first series that he goes up against the defense. Also, Kyle Fuller, I'm curious about him at center because it does sound like the center position is maybe up for grabs more so than we thought. Other things I'm keeping an eye on. Michael Bumpus has been all over this, but if you've been out there at training camp, you've seen that Freddie Swain's been looking really good. Colby Parkinson's also been getting a ton of opportunities. Is Parkinson going to continue to make the most of the chances that he gets out there? Because, man, you go to training camp practice, it's hard to not see Colby Parkinson do something. He's out there a lot. He's getting all sorts of opportunities. He's a big tight end who's got a little bit of speed, not a ton of speed, but he's somebody, too, that I'm hoping gets a serious amount of work in this game coming out of tight end U, or one of the tight end U's. After that, defensive line-wise, you got a lot of young players who are going to be competing for time. Alton Robinson is someone who, having 4 sacks last year, which was second most in the NFL among rookie pass rushers, he's got a leg up, I would imagine, on just about everybody else, the veterans. But how's L.J. Collier going to look? Former first-round pick. How's Rasheem Green going to look? Guy who joined us on Danny and Gallant this week. A bunch of different pass rushers are going to be thrown out there. The Seahawks have a lot of different guys on the defensive line, and after the people that you're probably relying on the most, Benson Mayowa, Kerry Hyder, who's going to be the guys that you look at this year and think to yourself, wow, that guy really took a step forward? Are they going to have anybody like that? And the last thing, safety Ashari Crosswell. He's been your training camp hero thus far. What's he going to be in a game situation? And also at wide receiver, you got some questions at the very bottom of the depth chart, especially with Dwayne Eskridge injured. Between John Ursua and Aaron Fuller, who's going to maybe take that 5th, 4th wide receiver spot on this team?